Good afternoon, dear students. I am Rajesh and you are watching Learning SS with Rajesh YouTube channel. Dear student, we are going to revise history objective type questions today for a half yearly exam purpose. As you know that your half yearly exams are going on, so that's why we will revise our objective type questions for the same purpose. And lesson number 1, the French Revolution, will be the topic today. So let's start revising. First question from lesson 1 is, name the dynasty of Louis XVI. As you learned that Louis XVI was the emperor of France at that time of the French Revolution. He was belonged to Bourbon dynasty. You will learn deeply about it in the 10th class. The next question of today is, name the wife of Louis XVI. The name of the wife of Louis XVI was Marie Antoinette, the Austrian princess. She belonged to Austria. And now, how many colonies of America controlled by Britain? You learned in the lesson that Britain was helped by France to free that 13 colonies from the Britain. It means France helped America to free 13 colonies from Britain. So next point is, what was livre? Livre was the unit of currency in France at the time of French Revolution, and it was stopped after 1794. Who were included in first estate in France? You learned that in society there were 3 estates made by, or means society was divided into 3 estates. In first estate, clergyman, the person who involves in the church program or church work, was known as clergy. What was tithe? You know, tithe is important question. All questions are important. What was tithe? Tithe, a tax by the church. It means church also levied tax on people, and that tax was known as tithe. As you know that tithe means 1/10 of agricultural product. So it can be another question in your exam. Tithe was taken by church, or it was a tax taken by church. How much percentage it was of production? You can write that 1/10 of agricultural production. And the next important question of today is, what is a tele? It's also important. Tele, direct tax. As you know that church had tax and church deposited it to the king, and tele was a direct tax taken by king from the people. And you know that direct tax means the direct given to the government or the responsible person. And the next question is, who wrote the book Two Treatises of Government? You learnt in the lesson that number of philosophers also advised people to rise against Louis XVI, to wake up against Louis XVI and to start revolution. And the name of major philosopher was John Locke. John Locke wrote the book named as Two Treatises of Government. And next, Rousseau also wrote a book, and the name of book written by Rousseau was Social Contract. It is also a very important question. There can be matching the point in exam. Match the books with their philosophers, their writers. Two Treatises written by John Locke and Social Contract written by Rousseau. I hope you are getting all the points, and questions are very important. And next book is book written by Montesquieu, written by another philosopher, Montesquieu, and the book is The Spirit of the Laws. Next question is, what was the Estates General? Estate General was a political body in France. Political body in France as our Indian Parliament. It's also important political body in a State General named as in France before the French Revolution. When was last meeting of the States General held in France? It was in 1614, and you are learning about 1718 in the lesson. About 1718, the French Revolution took place in 1789, but the meeting of a States General was held in 1614. You hope near about 175 years ago. And next is, what was the immediate reason of the French Revolution? It's very important, and you learned in the lesson that it was a major problem of French Revolution was major reason of meeting of the States General for tax purpose, for increasing of tax purpose. And the next point is, who was the leader of the third estate? You learned that after the meeting of a States General, that was the immediate reason opposed by the third estate, and now third estates revolted against the king, and their leader was Mirabeau and Abbé. These were the leaders of third estate. Next, name the pamphlet written by Abbé. Abbé wrote a pamphlet named as What is the Third Estate? He wrote some characteristics of third estate. What was the major provision done after the meeting of the third estate? You learned that to start with the French Revolution, the third estate started the revolution, and after revolution, when Louis XVI agreed upon all the major provision, what was the major provision done by Louis XVI after the meeting of third estate? So Louis XVI ordered recognition of to National Assembly. It means National Assembly also the political body, changing from the name States General. So major provision after the meeting was Louis XVI accorded recognition to the National Assembly. I hope you learned the major points now, and all the questions are important. Now the next question is, when did France become a constitutional monarchy? You learned series wise in the lesson that after the defeating, or means the after the recognition of assembly, National Assembly, France became a constitutional monarchy. And the major question is, when did France become a constitutional monarchy? In 1791. And next is, what was the age of voting in France after constitutional monarchy? You learned that according to constitutional monarchy, there will be a National Assembly, and 745 members will be elected by the people in that National Assembly. But now the major point is, who can vote in the to choose their National Assembly? The major point is people of, or the man only above 25 years can choose the National Assembly. And the major second compensation was, it means compulsion was tax pay. 25-year man and must be tax pay equal to 3 days labor wages. So the people or the man who can pay the wages equal to 3 days and 25 above can vote. I hope you learned the point now. And the next is symbols, major matching question in the exam. The broken chain after or in the French Revolution was the major symbol of freedom. It means, you know, that if your chain is broken, it means you are free. Next point is the bundle of rods. The bundle of rods known as unity. You know that? You learned a story in Hindi. Ekta mein bal hai. The bundle of rods known as unity. And the next is the eye within triangle. Eye within triangle known as equality. You know that? हिंदी में आपने मुहावरा पढ़ा होगा, एक आंख से देखना यानी समान भाव से देखना. The eye within triangle, it means it was a symbol of equality. And next is red Phrygian, Phrygian cap, it was known as freedom of slaves. When a slave was freed, he or she can wear the red Phrygian cap. The next, the major, very important question for objective type. There can be question, write the major national color of France that time. You can write blue, white, red. I hope you learned the point now. And the next major point is, when did National Assembly voted to declare war against Prussia and Austria? You learned that when France became a constitutional monarchy and Louis XVI gave recognition to that National Assembly, now National Assembly started to declare war against Prussia and Austria in April 1792. It's a very important question now. And the next is also the major question. What was the Marseillaise? What was Marseillaise? The patriotic song of France. During that time they wanted to war against Prussia, Austria. It was patriotic song. Marseillaise or patriotic song is, you know, that Vande Mataram and Jan Gan Man. These are the patriotic songs. And you know, the Marseillaise was the patriotic song of France during French Revolution. And after that, who wrote Marseillaise? Marseillaise was written by Roger de Lisle. Roger de Lisle. I hope you learned the point now. And the next major point, important point, name the national anthem of France. And after that, French Revolution, the Marseillaise was recognized as the national anthem of France. And the next point is, name the leader of Jacobins. You learned that after making the constitutional monarchy, France became a republic. And you also learned that Jacobin helped to make France a republic, and their leader was Maximilien Robespierre. And next, what was called the convention? After the help of Jacobin Club, France Assembly was known as convention. You know that convention was elected assembly of France. When did France become republic? And you learned that when convention means elected assembly was made by in the France after the winning of Jacobian, France became republic. And when was France became republic? On 26 September 1792. It's a very important question. And now the next question. What do you mean by republic? You learned in Pol Science also. From form of government. Republic means the form of government. And what type of government is? Form of government when people elect the government, including the head of government. Republic means the form of government. In that government, people elect their leader. It means elect their government, including the head of government. You know that head of the government is known as PM. And next is, when was Louis XVI executed? Sentenced to death. He was sentenced to death on 21 January 1793. And the next question is, what was directory? After the execution of Louis XVI, there was directory rule in France. And what was directory? An executive in France made up of 5 members. And that 5-member executive was known as directory. When did women in France won the right to vote? And they got right to vote in 1946. And what was the triangular trade of slaves? What was triangular trade of slaves? You know that trade of slaves between Europe, Africa and the Americas was known as triangular trade. Triangular here means, for example, these 3 continents were on triangle. For example, Africa is there, and from Europe and then America. You know that. all the slaves were traded from these one continent to another, and it was known as triangular trade of slaves. And next is, when was slavery abolished finally in French colonies? And you learned that in 1848 it was abolished in all the colonies of France in 1848. And the last one major point of today is, when did Napoleon become Emperor of France? And you know that in 1804, and that 1804 is also known as Civil Code of France. And after that you also learned the major points that Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 by the Allied power, England, Austria. They defeated Napoleon in 1815, and the name of battle is Waterloo. It can be also the question, Waterloo, when was Battle of Waterloo fought and who was defeated? I hope you learned all the points. Major objective type question of exam. These can be like in the fill up in the match or true false, or like in the option type questions. So prepare that for your half yearly exam. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.